afternoon, everyone, and welcome to a special Nacho Tuesday here with the Airmeet team on the Airmeet platform. So everybody gets to experience it live and see what it's like here using the Airmeet platform for live streaming. And without further ado, we'd love if you guys could introduce your platform and what your company does.
Hi, I'm Prashant. I head global partnerships at Airmeet. I have my colleague Kabir who looks at marketing partnerships. And from Airmeet perspective, what we do is simply we enable the most engaging and interactive experiences. We specially tailor it towards B2B SaaS marketers who kind of derive a great ROI because of the whole memorable experiences that are created for your prospects, right? And there are various touch points in a journey of a prospect that the marketers looks to maximize the outcome for the organization.
Yeah.
Perfect. So,
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Thanks, Prashant. Yeah, my name is Kabir, and as Prashant said, I look at a lot of the marketing partnerships and events here, and my role is to kind of make sure that we can get as many B2B marketers to experience the platform and create similar experiences like this across their funnel, right? So thank you everybody for being here, and thank you Andy for making this happen and having us on Airmeet stage here today.
Definitely, yeah. And doing these type of webinars is really great for creating engagement with your customers, which is more important than ever these days. As you know, the SaaS market is very crowded, so it's really tough to stand out these days. So getting that type of engagement is very key. I guess given that it's a very crowded space, what kind of tips do you have for SaaS marketing in such a crowded landscape?
Andy, if I may take a second here, just to welcome everybody, and for folks that have not been on the Airmeet platform, to just do what we like to refer as basic housekeeping to welcome you to the Airmeet platform and tell you a little bit about how you can engage with Andy, Prashant, and myself on stage and with each other as well. So if you look to the right side of your browser, you'll see what's called the right-hand side panel, and you'll see multiple buttons that showcase different ways that you can engage with us, right? So you'll see a chat button that obviously allows you to be able to comment on what we're saying, say hello to each other. So, for all the folks that are engaged and listening and actively on this tab versus all the other tabs that you have in your Chrome, would be great if you can come in and tell us a little bit about why you're here today, what interested you in joining us today, where you're tuning in from. Below that, you will see a little two speech bubbles with the letter Q on them. That's the way for you to be able to ask us questions and also upvote questions that other people have asked, right? So if you see, for example, if Prashant asks a question and I want to ask the same question, I can jump in there and upvote his question to make sure that, that becomes the most popular question. And then we, as the people that are on stage, will make sure to address the most popular questions before anything else. Below that, you'll see an icon with some people that says people in session. That's your way to check out who else is tuning in today. You can actually direct message them, build relationships directly in our platform there itself. Below that, last section that you'll see is a poll section. So we will be throwing out some polls here today to get an idea of what are your thoughts on what you're doing as SaaS marketers, and what are your thoughts on the overall marketing landscape currently. That'll also help us customize some of what we're talking on stage about, given some inputs from you. So thank you for that. Thank you for being here, and I hope you enjoy this session today. So, make sure you also you'll see a little area which has an emoji button under our video frame. So make sure to slam that as much as possible. Whenever you like something we say, you can throw out some hearts, clap, celebrate with us today. But yeah, thanks for being here. Andy, take it away, man.
Yeah, see if you can distract us with all the emojis coming across the screen. Perfect. So yes, back to the question. So I guess with SaaS marketing being such a crowded landscape, what tips do you have for standing out these days amongst the all the other wannabe SaaS companies out there?
Yeah, I can kick off that one. I think Andy and everybody here, the buyer journey has changed a lot, right? And it's not so much recently. I think with the amount of information that we have access through, of course, through the internet, through content, through communities, people are already hopefully aware of what their requirements are, what are the tools that are out there. So what we have to do is as marketers is through all of this noise and this crowded marketplace, make sure that we are creating touch points and opportunities to actually catch the attention of our buyers when they're actually in that state of buying, right? So making sure that we're in the places that they're hanging out, making sure that we're in the place that they're going to meet other people. They're going to educate themselves. So we're active in communities. We're doing events like these, that we're going to in-person events. We're hosting virtual events. We're creating content that is relevant and helping them along the way. And that's all of these things are crucial to staying top of mind, right? So I, as somebody that might want to buy, let's say, an email marketing solution, right? I may not need to buy it immediately, but I will be aware of solutions that are in the market if they're creating very high quality content that educates me about the impact that good email marketing could have, right? So when I'm interested as a marketer to, let's say, level up and start using some serious tech to be able to do really high quality email campaigns, I would have heard about said company through their content, through their events, and that would be the first kind of company that I would explore, right? So I think being top of mind, really adding value to the audience that you are creating a product or service for is really how you can stand out in a crowded space. Everybody's on LinkedIn, everybody's doing events, everybody's got email campaigns, but really, comes down to the quality of the content, the quality of the experience, and your ability to create a relationship with somebody that may be in the buying stage or may not be in the buying stage as well.
Yeah, we have a saying here at NachoNacho, we like to be everywhere all the time.
But
yeah, it's a long game you got to play, right? So every email, every webinar that you do, it adds up over time, right? So people start to see your name everywhere, and being at the right place at the right time, like you said, when they're in the buying stage, you're the first people that they actually think about. And it's really critical that you use the right tools too, right? So using Airmeet as a great webinar tool, we have all these cool features here that a lot of other webinar tools don't offer. So it allows for great audience engagement too, which I'm having fun with here. So before all that, I guess, so let's talk about product market fit, right? So we do have a lot of SaaS founders and a lot of people thinking about jumping off and starting their own company. And I believe product market fit is the most important thing for any company. Because it's a stage where once you have it right, then it's a lot easier to sell what you have. I guess, what tips do you offer for SaaS companies to identify how to get product market fit and then scale from there?
Sure. I think let me take it up first. I think especially the strategies would definitely depend a lot on what sector you are focusing on and at what stage you are in at. If you are looking at 0 to 1 journey and trying out your product first time, trying to understand the pulse of the whole prospect is most critical, right? Reaching out to him in the right time happens if you understand the ICP really, really well. So tuning your ICP is, I think, the first key that I would really recommend for most of the marketers, because I think the whole paradigm is changed post COVID, and it has become so horizontal, so deep. You would end up spending your dollars a lot. You put your efforts on channels which are possibly organic, but they are going to be resulting, giving something in a long termish goal for you. So understanding whom to target and what channel would work the best possible for you, and then fine tuning that as you go along, and then possibly experimenting a little bit more in terms of, as Kabir highlighted about virtual events, for example, right? I think Airmeet is a great tool for you to kind of understand the pulse of a prospect a lot more aggressively. So I think that's a starting point, and onwards from understanding more and more channels that work out for you.
That's a great point. Yeah, I love that you brought up knowing your customer really well. And, it's much easier to kind of have a clear focus on a specific type of customer in mind. You could always land and expand. The one thing you definitely don't want to be is trying to be all things to all people, because then you're nothing to anybody.
Yeah, Andy, and if I may add, absolutely agree with you guys that having full clarity and a lot of focus and conviction on who that ideal customer profile is, who the personas are in, but also kind of further down the line thinking about your measurement framework, right? So thinking about certain metrics like your CSAT, what is your customer satisfaction score? How much organic reach and traffic you have because of a result of people talking about your product, right? If your customers love your product, they're talking about it, they're recommending it in communities, you're getting a lot of organic traffic as a result of that you cannot attribute to any paid marketing campaign, to any email campaign or any particular event, means that your customers are happy and that they're talking about you, right? I don't want to go into the dark funnel, but these are things that make you realize that your customers care about your product and they like your product, right? The other thing is net retention rate and your ability to expand and upsell to your existing customers. Only customers that are very, very happy with you and the service and the product that you are providing will continue to engage with you year over year and actually invest in you more and more. The other thing that I heard somebody else talk about on a recent event is, how open are they to pricing changes? If you suddenly change the pricing of your product and your customers are completely good with it because they're so satisfied, means that you have product market fit, that you are able to understand their pain points, you're able to understand what they want to be able to achieve from a goals perspective, what are the challenges they're trying to overcome, and your product or service is able to do that. These metrics will give you those signals in many ways as well.
Yeah, that's a great point. Yeah, if you get a high net promoter score, it's always a good thing, right? Let your customers do the marketing for you, right? Recommending your product to other people, and that's honestly how a lot of people find SaaS tools. Me personally as well. Not to mention being a part of a SaaS marketplace, so I get to meet a lot of great people. But just word of mouth, right? I'm like, what are you guys using for email marketing software? Like, how are you guys getting these great results? And they'll always have their favorite tool that they're always going to recommend to me and other marketers like me. So you definitely want to be in that conversation. And if you have like a high net promoter score and you have a good relationship with your customers where they love your product and they actively engage with it, you're going to get those free word of mouth referrals.
Absolutely. And I think also at different stages, right? Prashant mentioned that, it can depend on the stage that you're in. And, as somebody that might be in a 0 to 1 journey, you want to make sure that those first 10 customers very, very deeply, those first 100 customers very, very deeply. And also, to a certain extent, almost, instill that in the culture, the fabric of your culture, to make sure that, the customer is always the focus, that every customer facing team or go-to-market team, which would be your sales, your partnerships, your marketing, your PMM, your customer success, your product team, all of them are spending time listening to prospects and customers, either through gong calls or they're going to communities or events and actually engaging with them. That really gives them a deeper understanding of the customers and lets them have the ability to, on a daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly basis, do things that get them to product market fit.
Yep. Yeah, and listen to your customers too, right? A lot of times I've been a founder myself, some wins and losses, but the losses are always usually associated with you thinking best. And so a lot of times I've consulted a lot of startups over the years too, and the biggest problem with them when they didn't have product market fit, it was usually they build a solution, then they try to bring it to market and try to sell it to people, but it should really be the only way around. It's more of a collaborative thing. You're trying to help your customers solve their problems at the end of the day. So you should really work with them closely, understand what their needs are, and listen, because you might have a great product and all, but maybe the experience is bad. Maybe your positioning is confusing. So you have to really dial that in initially. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to scale what you have.
And I think one interesting thing that we keep talking a lot at Airmeet about is, obviously we are a very diverse product, right? We cater to SMBs, we cater to enterprises, we cater to associations. Obviously, so it's quite complex in terms of a whole spectrum of customers, right? So a lot of startups end up struggling a lot in the directions when they are horizontally spread. So one of the advice I keep giving to startups where I work closely with or advise is to kind of focus on a specific ICP in a lot more finer details. It's just not about geography. It's about the stage of the company. It's about the pain point that they're looking to address. There are going to be some customers whom you have to say no a lot more at early stages, and that kind of helps you have a more razor sharp focus on what you really want to kind of build on, and take that feedback and improvise the product and then jump onto something else. Imagine somebody just trying to go after enterprises when they wouldn't be really ready for it. It's going to be a lot more harder to achieve your product market fit then and then, right? Versus focusing on something that makes sense early on. And another point there is channel. So product market fit also comes with a channel fit, right? So there are going to be channels that cannot work for you in an early stage immediately, like for example, paid marketing on a specific channel, right? So what's the channel that will really work out for you is something that you have to watch out for.
Yeah, perfect. And I was going to jump to that in a little bit too, but yeah, there's some great strategies too. So for a lot of startups, you might not have the budget, like you mentioned, to spend a lot of money for a high CAC to acquire customers through advertising. But there's other strategies that where you could actually, just takes a little elbow grease, but you could acquire customers for zero CAC effectively. And some of the strategies include, product-led growth, right? So talking about a high net promoter score, making your product inherently viral. What are your thoughts on, building a product that's naturally viral by nature, assuming that you're making your customers happy and they're willing to use these tools and spread the word about it?
Yeah, I can jump in on that one. I think primary kind of goal for product leaders, founders that are that want to invest in PLGs, it's important to remove as much friction as possible, right? Like make it as seamless as possible for somebody. And I mean, a core part of doing product-led growth is having some kind of free trial or freemium model where your potential customers can actually experience your product without having to incur a cost upfront, right? So having a very strong freemium or free trial, making sure that there's very little friction in them being able to get to what you want them to be able to do. So making that journey of that first action trigger as easy as possible. And I think also just data from a product team perspective is important, right? Knowing what is the depth of usage, where are the drop-offs coming, where are people getting confused. That's how that viral loop can get created, right? You're actually analyzing how people are. A lot of people just sit and watch videos of how people are using their products, right? So that they can see where are they getting stuck, which is in the UX, which is the button that is not working out, or how can I display a feature or visualize information in a way that they're able to get to what we want them to do, or what ideally that persona should be using this product for based on their use case. How do we get them to do that in the quickest, most easiest way possible? That requires a ton of experimentation and removing of friction and making that journey as seamless as possible.
Yeah, that's a great point. Time to value is very important too, right? So it's not just, it's not like just a cost thing, just giving it away for free. It's people are busy. They have a lot of options out there. They don't have a lot of time to experience value from your product or any other product for that matter. So really focusing on, like you mentioned, lowering friction, simplicity, get people into your product to realize value as quickly as possible, where there's enough there and value where they say, I need more. When you have that moment, then you could ask for more information from people. You could upsell them. You could do all those things that a lot of marketers and salespeople want to do, but it's kind of hard to sell right up front, right? So you got to get them in the door, show some value, and then if they're interested, if you've designed your product experience the right way, they're ready to upsell themselves at that point.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that I'd love to commend our Airmeet team here is our knowledge base, right? The help.airmeet.com knowledge base that we have. Like I pretty much go to that every single day to troubleshoot anything that I'm working on, or partners that need to use the product in some way or the other. Before going to our customer support team, or before reaching out to somebody on the tech team, I always go to help.airmeet.com. So having a very strong foundation of content, educational content around your features and your product is a very essential part of PLG, right? Giving them the confidence that they can use your product seamlessly, easily by themselves, not get intimidated, not have to reach out to somebody. I have anxiety when I'm going to email somebody on support@xyz.com. I'm like, when are they going to get back to me? Are they going to be able to actually solve my problem? So having a very strong education element around your product, and of course customer support, right? We also have a very strong customer support function that is available to all free and paid customers, that is 24/7, so they can jump into a lounge and actually ask any question about the product at any point they want. So that becomes a very core part of doing product-led growth well, where you're empowering your prospect, your customer, to be able to explore and use your product without too much friction.
Yep, that's a great point. You mentioned communities can be really, really helpful as well too. So if you have a natural built-in community where people can answer questions for them, or simple onboarding videos that just kind of explain features for people. A lot of people are also using these new chatbots now, which can, there's some ups and downs to it, right? So if you rely too much on the automation, it's a bad thing because people get really frustrated talking to bots. But if you could use it as an initial routing system, keyword based, so people looking for a specific, maybe a help article or a video to kind of explain a certain feature, that's where those bots come in to be very, very effective. Then of course you have to back that up with human customer service agents that are ready to answer people's questions live on the spot, because it's always good to strike while the iron's hot. If people have questions and they're looking at your product, you want to be able to close that sale right then and there.
Yeah, and it becomes extremely contextual. I mean, if you look at all the great products are being used aggressively and over a period of time consistently, right? I think one other thing that we highly recommend at Airmeet is to kind of use your own product a lot more internally as well. So as they say, eat your own dog food. I mean, when the pandemic hit, we were building the early product. I think Airmeet was the one which we've been using for internal town halls. our own interactions of teams, conversations with customers, and the support lounge that we use is hosted on Airmeet, which is 24/7. So, I mean, using your own product day in and day out helps you refine it, make it even better. And second point on the product-led growth is to kind of identify, if there is a viral loop that you can build in the whole system, right? If you can identify that and then give a value to your customer with that viral loop in the system, which kind of encourages the product to be used again and again by the customer and kind of brings him back, and that leads to some kind of growth lever, right? It's fundamentally for the customer and then for your own product to kind of have a higher adoption. One of the classic examples we've seen, which was massively success, was a Dropbox, right? I mean, it became such a viral campaign just because they kind of offered something which enabled a strong hook back in the system of their own product, which gave them significant customer growth.
Yeah, that's a great point. Also, like Robinhood, more in the consumer space, but they would give away, like a cheapo free stock, but you would give one to a friend too. So people feel like there's something in it for them and for their friends. So they didn't feel like they were just spamming their friends or trying to sell to their friends. It was a win-win situation. And developing a win-win situation is key. Bringing up the next topic, the other PLG word, partner-led growth. So for a lot of companies out there, partner-led growth presents an opportunity to actually grow your company and spread more awareness for what you do, just by collaborating with other SaaS companies that are out there. So I guess, what tips do you offer for people to develop a partner-led growth strategy, and how can SaaS companies leverage this as a growth channel?
Yeah, I mean, first advice would be just get started. Honestly, partnerships can be intimidating for people in the start. They can think that, hey, we're a tiny company, we're a 5-person team, we're not at the stage where we can add value to, let's say, a Series A or Series B company. But don't be afraid to shoot your shot. Go out there, do some outbound outreach to people on LinkedIn, send that email, craft it well, go walk up to people and speak to them at events to see how you can, add value. At many stages, I've worked with partners that were much larger than us, and we just decided to say, hey, we're going to take the bulk of the work on. We just need your help to, be on stage, share your knowledge, do some distribution for us. So we would go ahead and write all the content. We would host the event. We would do all the production. We would do all of the design. So there's going to be different types of value that you can add in a partnership. So just jump in and see, have that conversation to see where you can start that off. And honestly, going back to the first question, also, Andy, right? In this crowded space, in this space where there is so much fear of, budgets not being there, or, getting beaten by competitors on pricing or support, partners are, in my opinion, one of your best ways to go to market, right? If your partners already have customers that are your prospects, that trust and credibility has already been built. Your sales team doesn't have to spend weeks to get an understanding of who this person is, what are their goals, what are their challenges. That intelligence can come from a partner. Of course, that stage of getting that intelligence or that introduction may be a few months down the line, but yeah, just start. That's my advice to people.
That's a great point. And I guess what kind of strategies would you offer for companies to deploy some sort of a partner-led growth strategy? I mean, we're kind of doing one right here, doing a cross-collab co-marketing opportunity with this webinar here. Obviously, a lot of great content marketing is going to come out of this too. I guess, what other tips do you offer for companies to start a PLG strategy?
Yeah, I think, like you said, events like this, finding, going back to that first point that Prashant also made about knowing your ICP, starting off with partners can be very beneficial if you have focus, like other GTM motions, right? So make sure that anybody that you partner with, you have data to back that there is an actual overlap in the customers and audience that you're going after. Don't just partner with somebody because they've got a sexy brand, or you feel like they've got a ton of following on LinkedIn, or you feel like there's that they're a really cool product. Use data. There's multiple technologies out there, mostly referred to as PRMs or account mapping tools, which connect your CRMs to show you what is the overlap of your prospects and customers. So use that data to justify whether, and even if you're not investing money, Andy, it's time. Prashant and I put in a lot of time talking to partners, preparing for, things that we're going to do together. There's an opportunity cost to that, right? So if I'm going to go ahead and partner with all 100 people that I speak to, that's a huge waste of time for Airmeet, right? That's a huge waste of time for me in my career as well. So, have focus, use technology to do that. And from a marketing perspective, right, try to make sure that you are aligned on values. You like to use the same type of messaging. You like to do events. You like to do content. And of course, I think Prashant has a lot more experience on the on the revenue side of partnerships and channel side of partnerships. So Prashant, I think your tips on that, your expertise and experience on that would be essential for the audience on how to actually make money from it, not just build content and awareness.
Sure, I think we touched upon some very exciting points in partnerships. One thing I really loved about is existing relationships, right? See, if you have to increase revenues, we all, I'm sure, would agree that you need to build relationships with your customers, and that takes time. So what happens is if you identify a right partner who has already built relationships with a segment of customers, which it could be an overlap or it could be a completely new segment. So that gives you a shortcut to reach out to those customers, right? With somebody who's been trusted by that customer, and you ride along with them, creating a stronger value for the customer in return, right? One very interesting example I just heard in the recent times when I was talking to one of the partnership leaders globally. He said it's like a tooth and brush, right? So you manufacture toothbrush and a paste, right? The dental paste. So it's like you're manufacturing one product and you identify somebody else who kind of combine, you create a very strong value for your customer. That becomes extremely important. So you need to not only just go aggressively look at identifying new partners, you could always look at somebody who is aligning with your ICP directly, somebody who's providing a value which could be extremely complementary or supplementary, either way, right? And then you work together in winning that customer in a longish frame. So the fundamental thing will always win, which is better relationships which have been leveraged and a stronger value prop that you create together, right? I think one of the very interesting example that we're talking about here is NachoNacho and Airmeet, right? We are looking at collaborating, we are providing a product which works and caters towards SaaS marketers, and NachoNacho is a great SaaS marketplace. So a very interesting example right up here.
Yeah, that's a great point too. And affiliates are another great channel too, right? So looking out there for people that might be even, writing content about your specific industry or niche, go after those people and, see if you can develop a relationship with them, even if it's an affiliate relationship. You could do that just by basic Googling, right? Look for people that are talking about your subject matter, and try to form partnerships with those people that are already producing content in that area. But it's got to be win-win. At the end of the day, partnerships are all about win-win. And it's not like a fly-by-night thing. You don't just do it once. You got to look at it as a long-term relationship that you have to cultivate. And a rising tide raises all boats kind of an approach, as we always say over here.
Yeah, and I'd love to offer one little hack and one example of how a marketing partnership has evolved into a revenue relationship for us, right? One hack is that if you are looking at decision makers, that there's a certain decision maker or persona that you're going after, deep dive into their LinkedIn, look at the pages that they're following, company pages that they're following, look at other leaders of companies that they're connected with or that they follow and engage with on LinkedIn, and reach out to those people and partner up with them, right? If you don't want to invest in a partner relationship management tool, or you don't want to immediately jump into an account mapping tool and connect your CRMs, right? Go ahead and do these hacky ways to actually find out who your target persona is actually following. Engaging with communities are a great way to do this as well, right? Go to the communities where your decision makers and prospects are hanging out and become active there. Partner with the community. We partner with tons of communities that have a bulk of their audience as marketers. We empower them to do events on Airmeet so that their marketers, their community members are able to experience the platform, and in that moment be able to think, holy shit, maybe I want to do this one day. I want to do an event one day. I've attended a bunch of events on Airmeet through, let's say Rev Genius, through Pavilion, through multiple other communities. So maybe I'll go to Airmeet first, right? So that's also an example of a partnership. You might call it community-led growth, you might call it engagement, but it's our nature of that is we've partnered with those communities. And the example I wanted to offer is, our customer Agora Pulse. We partnered with them almost 3 years ago, where we offered the platform to them to use for a very large agency summit where they were bringing, global agencies together. They were doing thought leadership, they were doing networking, they were doing practitioner workshops. And we offered the platform to them for free because, one, it was a great brand to work with. Two, they are people that understand technology, that are savvy marketers themselves. So any feedback and insights they give us on our product is very, very relevant and great for our product team and us as go-to-market professionals, right? And eventually they liked the product so much, that event was so successful, that we are now in year 2 of our contract with them, right? They paid us for 1 year and then renewed, and have a very, long-standing relationship with pretty much everybody on our team, right? So you never know where partnerships can go. And going back to your point, Andy, like, make sure that it's win-win, so that everybody feels invested. They feel like they have skin in the game. They feel like there is love and respect and contribution coming from both sides. And like, that is going to set you up for actual, business results, right? Many times people will say that we're only getting, awareness. We're just getting some leads that are not relevant. But if you invest in the right partnerships in the right way, that will convert for you eventually.
Definitely, yeah. And definitely play the long game. Look at it as like something that, you're investing into, right? It's a relationship that you're building. So that's really key there. I guess, what other good tactics and strategies have you seen really come about in the last year for SaaS marketing? Obviously, AI is kind of a big buzzword right now. How do you see companies leveraging AI, maybe some other tactics and strategies out there without overdoing it to get their SaaS company out there in front of the right customer?
Prashant, do you want to take that one first?
So I think if you look at how the whole paradigm has shifted in past couple of years, right? I think sales and marketing have become extremely, cohesive teams. That is something that is kind of changing the way the whole marketing is being looked at. So SaaS marketers now need to collaborate with sales leaders a lot more effectively. SaaS marketers earlier would kind of look at leads as a priority 0 for them, but now everybody is kind of aligned towards revenues, right? So now what we are looking at is, as a change for marketers, the strategy is shifted from top of the funnel to bottom of the funnel, where everybody's looking at how do I kind of create or find channels and get into activities or engagements or anything that kind of takes my customers right from just a lead on my system somewhere to an active prospect, where there are multiple touch points, right? And I think that's I think something which is exploding right now at the moment. And obviously AI is again kind of contributing to this motion a lot. We are experimenting at Airmeet a little bit. We would talk about the features which kind of are helping us identify the prospect who is most interesting from your funnel point of view, where you should be able to kind of spend a lot more time aggressively upon, because everybody in the end has limited amount of bandwidth, limited amount of resources. You want to channelize them in the right directions, right from top of the funnel, where you look at which channel to acquire customers for, and obviously everybody's struggling with CAC. So from there you drill it down to kind of getting into the right prospect at the right time, ensuring that your the whole sales teams are aligned towards the prospect in the best possible way, so that you increase your pipeline generated and eventually the conversions on the table.
Yep. Yeah, and that's why PLG has become a really big thing over the last year. A lot of people are a lot more budget conscious, and for good reason too, right? We're not just shoveling cash into the furnace, spending a bunch of money on advertising. We had a question here from Ashwani as well. He wants to know how startups can start using NachoNacho as part of their go to market motion. What I would recommend for that, and for any company out there, really, it doesn't require too much time just to kind of get listed and kind of put yourself in the right places, right? So if you're looking for SaaS buyers, NachoNacho is a great place to put yourself in front of 20,000 plus businesses. All it takes is a free listing. You just put your brand up there, and look at it as kind of like a long-term investment, like listing on Amazon.com, same kind of a thing. There's several other marketplaces out there as well too, which I definitely recommend. Companies should be everywhere all the time. So if there's a place where people are buying software, it definitely makes a lot of sense to be there as part of your go-to-market. And it doesn't require any money for any of these listings usually, and it gets you nice exposure that kind of builds over time. So definitely, not to toot my own horn, but that's kind of what we do over here. I guess back to some companies that have really nailed their SaaS marketing strategy. Kabir, could you possibly recommend some companies that other people could look to as a leader in the space to maybe emulate some of the stuff that they're doing that they could roll out for their own SaaS company?
Yeah, I think specifically for, let's say MarTech and customer success or sales tech, Gainsight, Gong, Wingman, Clary, Chili Piper, recently Apollo, which has raised a ton of money and done an excellent job with their marketing, their community, their events. These are companies that have built a solid presence in communities, that have done excellent events over the years. They have real clarity on how their content evolves on platforms like LinkedIn, And they're continuously being able to kind of change their messaging in a way that it resonates with their buyers as their buyers' priorities and needs also change, right? And some of the new contenders out there, I feel like, I spend a lot of time on LinkedIn. So there's a ton of companies that are kind of new out there that are taking a completely new approach to it, right? Examples could be Lavender, Hockey Stack, Factors.ai. A lot of these companies are doing what's referred to as, employee-led or founder-led branding. Of course, they have LinkedIn pages. Of course, they have, events, webinars that are happening. But a lot of their, key stakeholders, marketing leaders, sales leaders, partnership leaders, their CEOs, COOs, CMOs, CTOs are going out there, making themselves active on podcasts. They're creating content on LinkedIn. They're, presenting at events. Even if they're not buying booths, they're just going to hang out at events to meet their prospects and customers. So I think these are some of the ways that, companies really need to start thinking about. Gone are the times where you can just, write one email nurture. Gone are the times where, Prashant and I were discussing this, like 10 years ago, people, how did you discover your audience? You bought a lead list and then you started cold calling and sending emails, right? And it's completely flipped, right? The last, it's just, I put that in the chat as well. Like, I feel like the last 3 years in general, with COVID, with the, the onset of AI, with, the onset of social selling and the way buyers, budgets going down, everything is constantly being flipped on its own back, right? We're having to constantly rethink. So I think these are some of the companies, some being incumbent, some being new players, that are really doing a great job in going back to, again, some of the stuff that we were discussing before, right? Having clarity on who their ICP is, having clarity on who their customers are, and being able to go where their customers are, create messaging that resonates with their customers very, very quickly and efficiently. So, I would say follow these pages, follow leadership of these companies as well, to make sure that you see how they're articulating what they're doing, how they're doing it, who they're doing it for, and get inspiration from these folks.
Yep, that's a great point. I think a lot of brands now are starting to try to figure out a way to humanize themselves, even if it's B2B. A lot of people have this mistaken opinion that it's business. You got to treat it like a business thing. No, people want to know who's behind the company, right? And that's where, having your leaders at the forefront, making the human brand in front of the company brand itself helps people connect better with what you're doing over there. I've seen Apollo.io. It's a great example too, where they do like customer takeovers on their social media. So they'll feature customers and have their customers tell their story. All that stuff goes a long way for helping people to better identify with the brand. And you have to remember, at the end of the day, even though this is business, we're still doing business with people. And at the end of the day, people are making the buying decisions. So they want to, like the people that they're doing business with and see other people like them, having a great experience with those brands too. And I think that really resonates with people, especially in the day of automation, where everybody can do it, and it just becomes even more impersonal and overwhelming. That actually having a personal relationship with the people that you do business with actually shines through all the crowded noise out there.
Yeah, and I think one other thing to think about, of course, there are other B2B marketers, other B2B SaaS companies that are doing this really well, but one of the places that I feel I get a lot of inspiration from is B2C companies, is B2C marketers, right? They have been humanizing themselves and their brands for years. They speak directly to the customer. They try to be as witty, as funny, as relatable as possible. So as B2B marketers, right, like looking to B2C guys and folks that have been doing it for a while is a great way to kind of understand how to change our own mindset of remembering that we might be a company, but we are people selling to people, and we need to talk like that. We need to write like that. We need to present like that. So B2C guys have been doing this for a long time. So they're a great inspiration, right? So any product you consume, any product you use, like follow those guys, see how they're doing it and how they're being able to humanize themselves as well.
Yeah.
And I think the interesting angle there is also the retention, right? I think a lot of time in the whole conversation of marketing and strategy on B2B SaaS marketing specifically, you often overlook the aspect of retention, which is extremely critical. The costs of acquiring a new customer are significantly higher. So you need to retain them a lot better, right? Which means you need to continue to build those relationships even after you have acquired those customers, which is what you would see a lot of these great B2B SaaS marketing companies, they kind of keep illustrating this. They are where the customers are all the time. They ensure that the relationships are continued, right? I think that becomes extremely critical as well.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I've been in the B2C space as well, so I've kind of flipped between B2C and B2B. So I'm a huge proponent of bringing those B2C strategies over to B2B, and I think that's going to continue to be the trend because at the end of the day, like even TikTok, we're putting content out there, right? So there's actually surprisingly enough a strong demand for B2B content there, but not a lot of B2B content per supply. So it's actually easier than ever to stand out. So while you might think people are on there for consumer videos, these people have jobs, right? They're the director of marketing somewhere or whatnot. So thinking kind of outside of the box there allows you to get in front of these people, the same people on a different channel that a lot of other people might not be tapped into. But at the end of the day, like you mentioned, you're selling to people, and people want to work with brands that they really connect with. So I do see that as a big trend that's going to continue going forward from here on out. I guess any last tips or trends in marketing that SaaS companies should take away from this webinar today?
Yeah, I think one tip that we give at Airmeet to our prospects and customers in general is leverage event-led growth strategy a lot more, right? So events earlier were just one of the things on the table, which probably was optional, but today it's absolutely essential, right? I think given that overall multiple touch points are required for sales conversations, the hybrid is the new way, and it's already established. In fact, the challenges of engaging your prospects and ensuring that they don't fall through your funnel is very, very high. So you need to kind of think about better ways of using events as a strategy. What can you do better? How can you differentiate yourself in the whole crowded market? I think this is something that I think everybody should kind of make it as must do list in their in the to do things.
Yeah, and you make a great point. So post COVID, obviously there's still a lot of in-person events coming out, but online events are here to stay. So that's why using a webinar platform like Airmeet's really effective. And one thing that I've seen, especially I noticed with your guys' presentation today, and it's the crowd engagement. Being able to run polls, just have these little emojis, little things like that go a long way for getting people actively engaged to the webinar and not just tuning out and going on TikTok on their phone or something while they're listening to you on the side. So I'd love to kind of explore more some of the features that Airmeet does offer for SaaS marketers and how they could leverage your platform today to do what we've just done.
Yeah, absolutely. We talked as Prashant said, event-led growth is it can be used all across the funnel, right? And it's such a great way for you now. And Prashant was making the point earlier about how marketing and sales teams need to be cohesive units, right? And if you remember how events happened before, you would get the lead list either from a field event or from a virtual event. You would download the list, give it to your sales team and say, hey, here it is, go out, do your thing, reach out to these people, right? But you now have to empower your teams with much more. So let me give you some examples of how we've created intent today, right? One was showcasing the features that people can use to be able to interact with us. People using emojis, that shows that they're engaged, that they're liking what we're talking about on stage, that shows that they are engaged with the content that we've showcased, right? On the right-hand side panel, we made a poll live. So for example, you could actually become very, very creative with these polls, right? So many events that we host with partners that might be top of the funnel, we ask questions like, are you doing virtual events currently? What are the tools that you've been using to do these virtual events, right? How many events do you do per quarter, per year? Do you do large brand summits? All of this information is going to trickle down from Airmeet into HubSpot or any other CRM you use, and is going to be available to your sales team. Now that is really, powerful information that they can use to be able to actually build relationships on top of anything you're using from a Sixth Sense or a Zoom info or anything that is giving you intelligence about that prospect. But this is intelligence that you're creating in the moment, in the event, live, which has multiple purposes, right? It gives you intent data, but it also engages and interacts with the audience. So polls does that. Questions, our sales team is able to see who asked a question, what was their question. They can use that information to build a relationship in that first email, in that first phone call. Throwing out the call to action that you're seeing down here. One, it drives traffic to different assets that we wanted to drive it to. Plus, we also record who's clicked on that, right? So somebody from our sales team can reach out saying, hey, we understand that you downloaded our event-led growth report, or you watched, replays, I'm going to throw out another call to action here, right? So I can say that, I saw that you clicked on our event-led growth series that's called Eventions. Did you watch some of the replays? Which ones resonated the most with you? Can we potentially help you create experiences like this for your company, right? So this is great ways that the platform allows you to, create interaction, but also, share really cool information with your sales team that they can use to be able to build those relationships. And the last bit I wanted to also mention here, Andy, is that we've got a resource section as well, right? Which is also very dynamic. You can put in whatever you want. You can put in a PDF that you want people to be able to download, or you could put any web-based link that is yours, somebody else's. It's up to you how you want to create value for your audience and how you want to use those signals to be able to build those relationships. So if you go down to the section that we have called resources, you'll see that there's already a link there that's available. Now, if you click on that link and go and look at our ROI report that we partnered with this organization called GTM Partners with, if you download that report, of course, we're seeing that you have intent, but I'm able to see that people have clicked on that as well. So this is all the data that flows. So we're not only seeing, how many people showed up, how many people registered, where were they coming from, which device. That's table stakes now. We want to create intent that sales and customer success teams can use to, build new relationships and bring depth to existing relationships.
That's a great point. Prashant, anything to add to that?
Yeah, so I think Kabir explained it really, really well. I think what I would do is to kind of take it a little more deeper. See, we talked about ICP long back, right? Early in the conversation. So how do you identify your customer? Now, Kabir is talking about the intent of a prospect in a webinar that you're doing. I would like to take it even further, saying, hey, intent in the context. So, if you understand the prospect, if you understand the intent, but if you don't act onto it within the context, you probably would lose out on that lead eventually. But imagine that, you have this intent saying, hey, you had a prospect, he was keen on talking to somebody, he visited your booth, he sat on the table, who wanted to interact. Can you get a Slack message instantly, right? That is what Airmeet empowers the marketers with. So you get that intent data in the context so that it becomes actionable for you. Then it kind of that leads to the maximum possible ROI, because obviously your lead is hot and you can take an action in the same instant, right? I think that's something which is very, very important from a marketer's perspective and sales teams as well, and especially the leadership perspective. Can you identify a lead? Can you identify what's the intent, and can you take an action immediately and convert that prospect into a customer, right? So that's pretty much on the Airmeet perspective.
That's a great point. Yeah. So a lot of the stuff that we've discussed today is, really built around, humanizing those relationships, humanizing your brand, really, effectively trying to understand your ICP really well. And platforms like this give you like that intent data and that engagement data to really know who's ready to buy, who's ready for the next piece of information from you. The better experience that we can craft for our customers and give them what they want when they want it, and actually help them solve their problems, is going to make us better SaaS marketers and ultimately win our customers over, and more importantly, retain them for customers for life. So with that said, unfortunately, we're running out of time today. I could probably talk for hours because I have ADHD, but I know you guys probably have some meetings to get to. And I appreciate everybody joining us for the webinar today. Hopefully you walked away with this with some great SaaS marketing tips. I definitely had a great experience here using the Airmeet platform. It's been very effective in my opinion. Definitely want to do more events with Airmeet. So definitely highly recommend Airmeet. Everybody, if you're looking for event-led growth, I think we just came up with a new acronym here. If you're looking to develop an event-led growth strategy, I definitely recommend Airmeet for you guys. You can find it today in the B2B SaaS marketplace, NachoNacho, the best way to buy SaaS, or you can go to airmeet.com and you can learn everything about their great company and put their platform to use today. So thanks again, Kabir and Prashant, for coming on today. I really appreciate your time and look forward to building this long-term relationship, because that's what partnerships are about.
Thanks so much, Andy. Great conversation. Thank you.
Thank you, Andy. Thank you, Prashant. It's super fun. And thank you, everybody, for joining us today.
Thanks, everyone.